Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing good. So let's continue with the Coat of Many Colors part 2. Let us start from where we've stopped last time. Transformation of Joseph's lives in Egypt. So his brother sold Joseph to the Midianites merchant. And now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, sold for a slave to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officers. But the Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered. So even though being a slave, Joseph earns Potiphar's trust because of his integrity and diligence, and Potiphar makes Joseph the head of his household, overseeing all affairs. And the blessing of the Lord was in everything Potiphar had, both in household and in the field. So Potiphar left in Joseph's cares everything he had. Now that Joseph was well built and become very handsome, and his master's wife noticed this, and one day she asked him to come to bed with her, but Joseph refused her, saying that there is no one in this house greater than I. My master has not withheld anything from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? Look at his answer. It's not about fearing his master, okay? It's about his integrity and his faithfulness to God, and he is a man who fears the Lord, right? But still, his master's wife spoke to him to come to bed with her day after day, but he refused every time. And one day, when Joseph entered the house to do his work, there he found out that there was no servant inside the house except his master's wife. And his master's wife took advantage of this and caught him by his garment, saying, "Come to bed with me." But Joseph left his garment with his master's wife and ran out of the house. What does his master's wife did? She screamed and called all the servants and accused him of trying to sleep with her. And when her husband returns home, she told him the same lies. And Potiphar burns with anger and sent Joseph to prison. But God knows that Joseph was innocent. So God was with him even in the prison. And God showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison in charge. So the prison in charge put Joseph in charge of all those that is held in the prison. See, when a man put his trust in the Lord and live in the fear of the Lord, no enemy can put him down, because the Lord is with him. This is clearly seen in Joseph's story. Sometimes later, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker of the king of Egypt offended his dear master, so they were put to the custody in the same prison where Joseph was kept. And they both had a dream which carried a different meaning. And in the morning, Joseph visited them, and he found that they were worried and sad. And the two of them narrated their dreams to Joseph and told him that no one could interpret their dreams. So Joseph interpreted their dreams. He interpreted first the cupbearer dreams. He said to the cupbearer, "Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you." But to the chief baker he said, "Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat away your flesh." And he told to the chief cupbearer, "When all goes well with you, remember me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison." And on the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday. So he gave feast to all his officers. On this day, the chief cupbearer was restored back to his position, but the chief baker was hanged, as Joseph had interpreted their dreams. However, the chief cupbearer forgot to mention about Joseph to Pharaoh. Now, Joseph had spent 2 years in the prison, and this Pharaoh had a weird dream which troubled him day and night. So the Pharaoh had sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt and told them his dreams, but no one was able to interpret his dreams. And then suddenly this chief cupbearer remembered of Joseph and told Pharaoh about his dreams interpretation. So Joseph was brought to Pharaoh, and Joseph interpreted this Pharaoh's dream, saying that it is a warning of 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine. So he also advised Pharaoh to store up grains during the 7 years of abundance to prepare for the 7 years of famine. And so he asked Pharaoh to look for a discerning and a wise man to look after the whole land of Egypt and collect the grains. Pharaoh was so impressed with Joseph's wisdom and insight. So he said, let's read from Genesis 41 verses 39 through 43. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall rule according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. See, when a man put his trust in the Lord and live in the fears of the Lord, no enemy could put him down, because the Lord is with him. We see that God stood by Joseph throughout his trials and accusation. Why? Because of his trust, because of his righteousness, because of his integrity and commitment to honoring God. Joseph was only 30 years old when he entered the service to the king of Egypt. Joseph traveled throughout Egypt and collected grains in those 7 years of abundance and stored in the cities. He stored up huge quantities, just like the sand in the sea. It was so much that he stopped. Now the year of abundance come to an end, and the famine spread the whole country. And Joseph opened up his storehouses and sold grains to the Egyptians, and the whole countries come down to Egypt to buy grains from Joseph. See, dear friends, Joseph's story is a testament to the power of faithfulness and trust in God. Despite being betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, accused and imprisoned, he remained faithful to God. His extraordinary journey is a great reminder to all of us that even in the darkest of time, hope and redemption is always within reach. Dear friends, so let us remain faithful to God no matter what happens in our lives, and let's live in the fear of the Lord. Let's continue the rest of the story in part 3. Thank you, everyone.